Would you like to learn how to read and use tapestry crochet graph patterns? Well, I'm going to show you how, so stay tuned. Hi, my name is Sandy Marie with Crochet Fiber Art, bringing you tips and techniques to help you in your crochet adventure. My personal focus is on tapestry crochet. On this channel, I share a lot of crochet tutorials, and I talk about materials and tools to make your crochet life easier. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. At any point during this video, check out the show notes and links in the YouTube description below. There you'll find the specific materials and tools I used, as well as additional information for this video. So let's get started. Welcome to my little video area in my studio. We are going to go over the basic checkerboard design in order to show you how to use a tapestry crochet graph pattern. This is the actual design that most people start with when they're learning tapestry crochet. And you are going to be surprised at how easy this actually is. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to determine what your chain is going to be, the chain number. Now most patterns already have it numbered all the way around, so it is pretty easy to actually find your chain number. All you would do is you would look for the largest number, which in this case is 35, and I know that that's really little and you probably can't see it well. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit, like so, and I'll be able to write the numbers down so that you can see it. So the last box in this graph pattern, if you count them, is 35. So that 35 is plus 1, and that gives you your beginning chain. So in order to make this particular pattern, you're going to have to chain 36. The next thing that you need to look for, usually there's a place on the pattern where the number 1 meets for both column and for row. So this is 1 and 1 here, and like I said, I'm sure that the numbers are a little small, so it's difficult to read. So that tells you that that's where you're actually going to start, but we need to back up just a little bit, because this also tells you it determines the color of your chain. Now with a checkerboard pattern here, you're going to be doing red and white or blue and white or black and white or whatever colors that you prefer. Whatever color this box is here that meets the two number 1s, this is the color that your chains should be. Now I went ahead and I chained a couple in advance so I could show you the next thing here. And I know this isn't exactly red, but this goes with my kitchen a whole heck of a lot better than this bright red does. When you are crocheting into or back into your chain, you're going to crochet into the back loop of your chain. Now the reason is because it gives it a finished edge. So let me just show you here real quick. I'm going to put this down and use my little pointer so you can see what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to pull this stitch out a little bit, and that way I have some room. This here is the bottom loop of the chain. Okay. This here is the top loop of the chain. Now I said back loop. In order to get to the back loop, you're going to have to turn your chain over. So you would turn the chain over just like so. And on the back here, you can see there's more loops. There's a loop here, a loop here. Each one of these loops on the back represents a stitch in your chain. So in order to actually get started, you're going to skip this first one, always skip the first loop, and you're going to start crocheting into this loop. So So let me just show you, and then I'll take these apart because we're going to add color. So what you would do is you would pick up this back loop right here, just like so, and then you would crochet normal. And most tapestry crochet is done in single crochet, which makes it very easy. You move to the next back loop, just like so, and you crochet into that, just like normal. So I'm going to remove those 2 stitches because we need to add the second color. And that's pretty easy as well. Oh, I don't want to pull too hard because I don't want to lose my count here. So to add the second color, this is going to be done. Let me get this arranged here just a little bit. You're actually going to crochet over the second color. What I usually do when I'm adding colors to my whatever pattern I'm working on is I'll set it out just like so. That way when I'm crocheting, I know exactly how to put the yarn up against it so that I'm actually crocheting over it. So now we're going to go back into that back loop just like we normally did, except we're going to add this color here. So you just bring it up over the hook, pull it out just a little bit so that you've got a tail end over here. Now, with that extra color that's on there, you are going to do your single crochet stitch. And as I said before, it's just like normal. And you would look for the next back loop, and then you would just continue crocheting. Okay, so here's the next back loop, and you go into that. And just continue crocheting. Find the next back loop, which is right here. Go into that. And the next back loop. Go into that. Now, I'm going to pause here for just a moment because my yarn is too tight. Okay, so I'm back with you here, and so far we have 5 stitches, or 4 stitches rather. 1, 2, 3. Did I goof? No. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a little difficult to see under these lights. So let me show you something here on the graph pattern before we continue. Each one of these little boxes that you see here represents a stitch. So if you counted boxes, your beginning boxes are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now let me just point out here that you did a chain, and you did your chain in this direction, supposedly. So when you crochet the first row, you're going to crochet the first row in this direction. And you're going to continue to go back and forth over the pattern. So row 1 would be going this direction. Now, I do understand that if you're left-handed, sometimes you end up going backwards. It doesn't really matter if you're using a geometric pattern, so just go ahead and do that part however you want. But the next part here is the actual color change. And we're going to still be in the back loop. So this is stitch number 5. So you would go into stitch number 5. Make sure you're still carrying that extra color, and you start the stitch, but you do not finish it. This is part of what tapestry crochet is all about. So what you do at this point is you're going to drop your yarn, and you're going to pick up the other color. Now, I want to point out something here. It's not so important when you're using 2 colors, but when you're using 3, 4, and 5, it can get very, very tangled unless you do this. You always drop your color in the same place that your actual skein is, and you pick up the next color in the same place where that is. It does not matter if it's twisted up here. Your yarn is going to get twisted underneath anyways. What you want to do is you want to make sure that your yarn stays even and nice down here by the skein. You don't really care what it's going to be up here. It's going to twist. Anyways, you pick up this next color, pull this tight, and you go ahead and you finish the stitch. So that's stitch number 5. So if we're counting, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you're brand new, go ahead and just draw a circle around that number 5 to remind you that that's the stitch that you have to switch. You have to switch colors right here. So now we would be on the white. Reason a checkerboard is so easy is this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just draw a circle there so you remember that that's the stitch you need to change. So we're still on the back loops, but this time we're going to carry the red and we're crocheting with the white. Now I know it's pomegranate and cream. So you just pick up the back loop, make sure you're carrying the red, and crochet as normal. So that's 1. Back loop, make sure you have the thread. That's 2. Back loop. Make sure you have that thread. That's 3. And when we get to 4, I'm going to show you something else here. So you're kind of learning tapestry crochet while you're learning how to do the graph. So that's 4 in white. Now, one thing that you have to be very careful about is you always have to check the back. And if you've got little loops that are sticking up here, you want to straighten those out, but you don't want to pull so tight that you're actually hurting the crochet stitches, pulling them together. And I'm going to show you an example of that here. So I'm going to push this thread up a little bit, purposely making an icky loop. Okay, and so there, I started the stitch. This is where I change color. Well, you know, I've been doing tapestry crochet for so long, it's hard to make a loop that sticks up in the back. Well, that's okay. Again, this yarn here, I'm going to drop this yarn, so I drop this yarn in the same place where the skein is, and I pick this yarn up, and there's no tangle. You finish the stitch. And then you're crocheting with red, and you're picking up the white. I'm going to really try here to get an icky loop on the back. I might have to force it. Yeah, I'm going to force it to make an icky loop. So there, that's going to be an icky loop. And you always stop one stitch before you're getting ready to actually do your color change, and that's when you straighten out the icky loops on the back. So this would be my 4th stitch, and this is where I stop, and you look behind. Oh, look at that, we have some icky loops. Now I can show you how to do this. What you do is you hold on to the yarn here, put a finger down, you grab a hold of this yarn, and you just very carefully pull until it straightens out. Again, you don't want to pull so hard that you're actually changing the shape of these stitches. So now you would finish this. As you can tell, I did not I did not do the whole 36 stitches. Okay, so there would be my stitch number 5. Now this is the reason why you crochet into the back loop, and I'm hoping that you can really see this well. You see the bottom here where the chain is? This is actually looking like a finished edge, whereas the top, of course, is also looking like a finished edge. So this is going to be the bottom of your work, and if your work was just going to be left as is, it looks like you've already put a finished bottom on it. Now, in order to continue with the next row, so now here, I've always done this. I think that's because I raised too many children. No, I didn't raise too many. I raised all of the ones that I loved, which was all of them. So you go ahead and you cross that off because you're done with that row. And I cross it off on both sides because now you're going to read the pattern going from this direction this way. Now, of course, you turn your work up here, but you can't turn a graph. I mean, if you could actually turn the graph, you would only be on the back side of it. So that's the reason why you actually go up one row here and go the other direction. Now, if you're doing more than just regular blocks, it's very important to make sure that you go back and forth over the pattern. Because if you have 3 blocks here and you've got 7 blocks over here, you know, if you're trying to do that, you're going to end up, if you're going in the same direction all the time over the pattern, you're going to end up with it looking kind of silly. If you go back and forth, you're always going to have the correct number of blocks where they belong. So after you've chained one and turned, then you go ahead and you're going to start it, and you're going to bring this color back up again because you're going to crochet over it. And so now we're going back and forth. And what I'm going to do, because I have one more little thing that I want to show you here, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish this little swatch that I'm doing, and then I'm going to restart the video. So I'll be right back. Well, we're back here, and I have now done pretty much 5 rows. I stopped right at the end here because this is where I'm going to show you the last little thing, and that's changing color, going from one color to the next color on your graph. But before I do that, in the show notes and links below, in the YouTube description below, I'm going to share a couple of links with you. One of them is to the place that I get free graph paper from. So you can just color this. I mean, colored pencils work just fine. Make whatever colors you want, draw simple geometric shapes, and go ahead and practice for yourself. At this point, you don't have to buy patterns in order to do basic tapestry crochet, especially when you're learning. So that's why I'm going to share the link to the free place that I get my graph paper from. And you know, it's a whole heck of a lot easier. Why pay for something when it's free? Also, I'm going to be sharing in the show notes the basic steps that I took in order to do this. And did you know that you can copy and paste the show notes and put it into a document on your computer? That way you don't have to have the video running if all you want is just the basic, this is what I have to do first, this is what I have to do second. I include all of that in the show notes. So by all means, go ahead and copy and paste those show notes. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to remind you, please subscribe so that you don't miss the videos. I'm going to be doing a lot of tutorials on tapestry crochet, and we're going to be advancing kind of slow so that you can actually have time in between all of the tutorials to practice. I've got a lot I want to share, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So let me show you the last tip here, which is changing color from this block here. Okay, and we're going to change into the white. What you do is you go ahead and you start the stitch not stitch, stitch. Start this stitch normal, and you start it as though you are doing a regular color change here. Oh, excuse me. So you don't finish the stitch. You drop the color, and remember, you always drop it at the same place that your skein is. You pick up the second color, and you finish it with the second color. Now you will note here, let me just show you. This finishes all of the color on this row, but it is going to start with white when you actually chain one and turn, because your chain is going to be up onto the next row. So then you just go ahead and start again, except now we're doing the white. So you would bring the red up and you would crochet around the red. And I'm going to crochet just a couple so I can show you the end here, show you the end of the work, and that way you can actually see how nice that looks. It's actually a very nice finish. Okay, so there's the back side, and you can see this here is all the same color, and you can see that there's no white at the end of this row. There's the front side, and although you can see this little stitch right here, pretty basically you have kept all of the white on this row and all of the red on these rows here. So that's pretty basically it. It's a good start. I've given you enough information that you can play, and please do go home, play, pick out any kinds of yarn that you want. Just always remember that if you're making a pot holder, pot holders always have to be in cotton. Because cotton can actually handle the heat without melting. But while you're playing, go ahead and play with any leftover yarn that you have, make some wild colors, have a lot of fun. And thank you very much for taking the time to watch. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I hope you learned something. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button below. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, make it an awesome week.